What is the strongest exotic LMG? Now again, using the word strongest because we're going over DPS, both burst and sustained. I'll be showing all of the data on screen, how their talents work and whether or not you feel comfortable utilizing their talents and what can be done with their talents. I will leave up to you. That is your place to decide. Exotic LMGs. Pestilence, blue screen, Iron Lung, Bullet King. Nearly forgot there because, you know, Bullet King. Who's used that thing in a million years? So, for this, we're going to be using probably the strongest LMG build in the game at the moment, which is really damn simple. 4-piece strikers, who would have thought it? The gift, the sacrifice. The overall build changes that you would, or the damage changes that you would see if you're wanting to run 3-piece Regnbue, this basically will end up being the exact same, just they're going to be slightly different in crit rolls. And for this, we are going to be assuming maximum DPS on all of the LMGs, which does mean that that third attribute gets rolled to that really weird number of 9.5% crit chance. So you have LMG damage, damage to targets out of cover at 12%, and then critical hit chance, not damage to armor. I know, shocking, right? I've done so much work on this before and people still go, ooh, damage to armor. And because I'm such a wonderful guy, let me show you. So we've got Bullet King with crit chance, Bullet King with damage to armor. As you can see what the damage to armor involved. On average, with a 20% headshot rate, this is a 0.59% more damage with damage to armor. But here's the kicker. That is me calculating it, that everything you hit is just pure armor bar. If we now calculate in any form of uptime on what damage to armor has, which, let's just say for argument's sake, 60% of what you will hit will be armor. So we take 6 divided by 0.6, 60%, equals 3.6. 3.6 is a decimal with 0.036. So let's now put that into the spreadsheet and see what happens. So hopefully, as you can see, damage to armor is 0.036. And yeah, damage to armor is now doing nearly 2% less. It's like 1.7% less. So yeah, you don't want damage to armor. If you're going for a DPS LMG build, you want crit chance. Congrats. We've learned something already. Right, so the builds. 4-piece strikers, gift, sacrifice, like I said. Pestilence is coming in at 57.5. Crit chance and 117 crit damage. Yes, even on Pesty, we want that crit chance. Bullet King is coming in at 60. I think the actual stat is like 60.5 and then 141 critical hit damage, which is actually pretty damn high. They've changed some of the rolls around on the attachments. Iron Lung is coming in at 60. I think, again, the actual stat is like 61.5. We're not wasting too much here. And then 149 critical hit damage. And the final one, blue screen, with 57.5 and 117 critical hit damage. Blue screen seemingly coming in lacking considering the other LMG that's in a similar space to it with its crit chance, crit damage, actually has a damage talent where blue screen doesn't, but where blue screen actually shines is in its base value, which you can see here. And of course, its mag size. Pestilence having a 100 round, blue screen 200, Iron Lung 85, and effectively Bullet King coming in at 1,180. The base overall ammo capacity is 1,080, and then you get a 100 round mag essentially in most LMGs. So yeah, add that all together with something like Bullet King, it's a 1,180 round magazine essentially. Right, so for the math, this is all of the builds: Pesty, Bullet King, Iron Lung, blue screen. As you can see, I've got their crit chances in there. The changes in the critical hit damage are present, and their DPS. Ta-da! Pesty, because that's probably going to be the most common one people are going to be looking at, is at the top. Bullet King's doing 1.2% more in body shot. It's losing a fair bit in headshot. This is simply just because of the accumulative nature of that, in which crit damage works with headshot. And we have Iron Lung, which again is still doing more, and blue screen trailing in behind. Now obviously only one of these actually has a damage talent, and I've also just been harassed by my cat, so I'm pretty sure I'm covered in fluff. However, before we look at the talent, let's have a look at sustained DPS. Obviously Bullet King is going to be doing a ton more, since it basically just doesn't have sustained DPS. It just has burst, because, you know, it doesn't reload. After that, we have Iron Lung, which is actually still beating out Pesty by about 23% on average. This is simply just due to the fact that bullet for bullet, Pesty is actually the weakest one, and that reload time really does help out Iron Lung, and then Pesty's reload time kind of hurts it. And then finally, we have Blue Screen, which with 1.88 second reload time on Strikers, which is unreal. Anyway, as promised, onto the talent. Now, this is just Pesty's talent, because none of the others actually have a damage talent. And, well, there's actually no difference between this spreadsheet and the previous one. All that's going to happen is that damage number underneath test based, where Pestilence is going to be added to the DPS numbers on this one. And as you can see, this is me just calculating one full stack. The difference it makes is actually pretty impressive. This does mean that at one full stack, Pesty does beat out basically every other LMG. However, not by much. And in terms of overall performance, it is arguable that Blue Screen is the worst. However, there's been a lot of love for Blue Screen lately. Shout out DJ Tickle. Can't stop praising that weapon, and I'm pretty sure he sleeps with one. The reason for this, and the reason for Blue Screen getting a lot of attention, is quite simply its talent. Although it isn't a damage talent, being able to apply Pulse, Disrupt, and Disorient on all enemies that you've hit, and within it's like a 5 meter radius or something, is huge. That Disorient really does come in handy, and it allows basically the weapon to basically just constantly actively hit with its actual bullet damage, whereas if something goes wrong with Pestilence, you're relying on your tick, which is once per second. So there is potential there for Blue Screen to actually get a lot more damage out, simply because you're able to hold enemies in place, whereas none of the others are able to do that. If they do get suppressed and feel the need to hide and sit in cover for like a million years, Pestilence is able to get around that, but it's reliant on that tick, which is once per second. Yeah, there's weird caveats to all of them. I can't show the next sheet for sustained DPS. Well, I can, but I am 99.9% certain that I have done it wrong. And the reason for this is I have tried to find a way to calculate in the tick damage over the time that Pestilence would reload. I tried to look at IKEA's sheet to see if there's a way in which he did it. Maybe I could replicate it. He quite simply just hasn't done it, which is bizarre. I thought if anyone would do it, would be IKEA. So I don't know how to do it. I've tried it a few ways, and it ends up just being mental. And I don't want to put it up on screen for someone to be like, hey, look, Pestilence is able to do these wondrous things, when I can't even say with like 80% certainty as to whether or not it's accurate. I simply just don't know, so I'm not going to go into it. What I can say for certain is that Pestilence tick will make a difference to sustained DPS, but as to how much, I honestly haven't got a clue. So yeah, there we have it. LMGs. That should cover it for this video. Hopefully we've all learned something. In the meantime though, have fun. Good luck. Don't die. It's bad for the health.